Hello, everyone. Just while we're waiting for everyone to join, if you could just say hi and where you come from in the chat. It's always interesting to see where you are today. Okay. Great. So we've got UK, Italy, Oman, Croatia. Fantastic. Okay, great. Yep. Scotland to Saudi Arabia. Everywhere. Great. Fantastic. All right. Malaysia, Iran, UK. Fantastic. Welcome, everybody. So we're going to get started in a moment. Today, we're going to look at the OET Writing Assessment Criteria. So a very important topic for OET. Okay. Great. Yep. Somebody in Brighton. That's where I am. Rwanda. Great. Okay. Well, we're going to get started. Because we've got lots to get through today in our half-an-hour session. So I'm just going to share my screen. We are going to look at understanding the OET Writing Assessment Criteria. So before we begin, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, because we're going to post this video and we've got so many other videos that will help you with your OET preparation. Also check out our website, specialistlanguagecourses.com, and see if you can find a preparation course that fits you. So a couple of things to notice here today. You've got the chat function. So I might ask you to write your answers to some questions in there. Polls, I'll be setting some polls today. So here you just have to click on the answer you think is correct and then press submit. And the Q&A function is for questions that we'll answer at the end of the session. So you just click on the icon, type your question, and we'll take a look at as many of those as we can at the end of the session. Don't forget, this Thursday, 1 p.m. UK time, Bethan is going to take the session on OET Reading C, Identifying Attitude and Opinion. So don't miss that one. Very important session. So moving on to the writing criteria, we will look at an overview of what it is, each individual criterion we'll go through, and how you can score well in the exam. Okay. So, first of all, I'm going to launch a poll. So I want you to choose the correct answer. So which of these statements is true? Okay, so if you click on the option you think is correct or true, and then click submit. So if you could make your answer now. Yeah, how are you assessed in OET writing? Which one is true? Okay, so just another quick minute. So select which answer is true. Okay, use the poll, please. Yeah, not the chat box. So click the button. Okay. All right, 10 more seconds. All right, let's have a little look. So I'm just going to end the poll and share the results. So Nobody's put B, which is great. I can confirm that the correct answer or the true statement is D. The other ones are false. So let's have a little look in more detail. So yeah, grammatical range and accuracy, it is important, but it's not the most important aspect of the assessment criteria. All of them are looked at. Yeah, if you make a few minor errors, it's not going to reduce your score dramatically. Okay, so it's not like in other exams like IELTS that really focused on, but it is important. Content selection is assessed as well as language, which some people find quite tricky. Not all parts of the criteria are out of 7, only 5 of them, but there are 6 criteria in total. So let's take a little look. So the writing criteria, we've got purpose, content, conciseness and clarity, genre and style, organization and layout, and language. So purpose is out of 3 and all the rest are out of 7. And you can find the writing criteria on the OET website. It looks like this. Okay, so you've got purpose on the left-hand, you've got purpose on the left-hand side. Okay, here, if I just show you here, you've got the purpose out of 3, and then you've got all the others here. Okay, and you want to be looking at the top scores here is what you should be aiming for to get an OET grade B. So let's look at what these criteria actually mean. So for purpose, you need to make sure that the purpose of the letter is clear at the beginning and that the details are expanded later. So when you find your writing task and you've read through the case notes, there are a few things you need to do. So you need to, in the first paragraph, to express the purpose clearly, you need to always include the patient's name. So here, Mr. Smith. And what's the context? What's happened to him? So here, admitted to the hospital. Why? For a total hip replacement, because he'd fractured his right neck of femur. Okay, so you would mention that in the opening paragraph. And you also need to state, that's not sufficient, you need to state what the purpose of the letter is. What are you asking the reader to do? So here, you're obviously discharging the patient and you need to tell the reader of the patient's current situation and care required. So the focus is on ongoing care. Okay. Also notice here who the reader is. So we've got that she's the nurse at Somerton Retirement Home, and this is where Mr. Smith lives. So the reader knows the patient. So you could make reference to that in the first paragraph by saying something like, I'm writing regarding your patient, or I'm writing to discharge your resident back to your care. So taking this context, I'm going to show you 4 opening paragraphs to an OET letter about this case. I'm going to launch the poll, and what I would like you to do is to decide which purpose paragraph would score the highest mark. Okay, you'll do all the expanding later on, but which paragraph do you think is the best? So please vote now in the poll. Paragraph 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay. So yeah, keep voting. Which paragraph do you think is the best or expresses the purpose most clearly and effectively? Okay, we seem to have 2 that are winning. Okay, just another few seconds. If you haven't voted now, please vote. Okay, let's take a look at the results. So most of you have chosen paragraph 1 or paragraph 3. So let's take a look. So paragraph 3 is the better one, in my opinion. So we'll take a look at why. Well, it's clear. Yes. And it's immediately apparent. Yeah. It's got the name, what happened, what's the situation now, ready for discharge, and what's the purpose? Ongoing care is required. Really, really clear, not too much detail. So number 1 is okay. I think a lot of you did choose number 1, but there's just a bit too much detail. You don't need to give all the specific details, like the paracetamol can be given as required. You can mention the details later. Paragraph 4, the information is difficult to find. Yeah, the purpose, he needs more care, is right in the middle of a lot of information. And in number 2, it's just not expressed. So this is a common mistake that people make, is they forget to actually write the purpose: ongoing care, further management, more tests, depending on what it is. So key points for purpose. Make it immediately clear. Why are you writing? To refer, discharge, or transfer a patient? And what do you need them to do? So in general terms, ongoing care, further tests, monitoring. And you can expand in more detail later. Don't forget to include the main medical issue, if appropriate. Moving on to content. You need to make sure the information included is necessary for the reader, no key information is missing, and that it's accurate. So taking the same extract from case notes, here is the discharge plan, and you need to ensure that all key information is included. And in this case, it's everything. If you miss one item, it could dramatically reduce your score for content. So make sure you include all the key information needed. You also need to make sure it's presented accurately. So have a look at these 2 sentences. Can you see what the error is in each of these sentences? What's the error with content? You can write in the chat. What do you think? What's the error with content? So if we look at the first sentence, his staples are due to be removed on the 19th of the 3rd, 2020. What is the error there? There's an error with the date. Yes, so here you've put March, but the case notes say February. So, you know, that's an error that would reduce your score. Similarly, well, differently on the other sentence, here we're asking the reader to arrange the physiotherapy sessions. But in the case notes, the physiotherapy will contact the retirement home, not the other way around. So you need to make sure that you're representing the case notes accurately. So for content, don't leave out any key information. Make sure it's accurately represented. And also do not add information that's not in the case notes. Yeah. And don't make any connections or links that aren't stated in the case notes. So perhaps reasons for things. Conciseness and clarity can be a tricky one. This is about how long the letter is, making sure that irrelevancies are not included, and that relevant information is summarized well and in a clear and easy to follow way. So not too much detail or complicated language. One thing that people struggle with is including too much information that the reader doesn't need to know for ongoing care. So same context, we've got Mr. Smith. Remember, we're discharging him back to the retirement home. okay, for ongoing care. So just have a quick read through these 3 paragraphs and just notice, is there any information that is not relevant to the care to be provided? Is there any information that's not necessary? Yes, absolutely. The past medical history. I mean, the recent past medical history. Obviously, we need to explain he underwent a total hip replacement. Yes, but we don't need to mention about the X-ray, and the X-ray confirmed the fracture. I mean, we're not going to do an operation on a patient if we're not sure they fractured their leg or their knee or whatever. Yeah. And we don't want to repeat he underwent a total hip replacement. It's already presented in the first paragraph. And the medical history here, well, for a start, the reader already knows it, but also it's not relevant to the ongoing care. His hypertension and the appendectomy is not related to the current situation. So you kind of have to think a little bit separate to what you would do in real life. This is OET, only provide the information related to the care to be provided for this specific case. For genre and style, you need to make sure everything's written in a factual way, not including any language of opinion. Needs to be suitable language for the reader, so depending on if they're a medical professional or not, and abbreviations used only if the reader knows them, and use polite request phrases. So I have another activity for you. Which sentence expresses the information appropriately? So we've got an extract from a set of case notes here. Diet, poor appetite, refuses low sugar diet. So I'm going to launch the poll, and I would like you to choose which sentence best expresses the information. Okay, so please vote now. Yep, keep voting. Great. Okay, great. So I can reveal that everybody has chosen sentence number 3, and that is the correct answer. Okay, it's the one which expresses it the best. I mean, the first one, let me just get rid of that. His diet is bad and he eats too much sugary food. I mean, bad is a very negative word to use. And we don't know that it's that bad. All we know is that he refuses the low sugar diet and it's a poor appetite, meaning he's not hungry. So sentence B, in terms of content, is correct. However, he refuses to eat healthy food, again, it's a little bit judgmental. And I mean, maybe he does eat healthy food, but he also eats a lot of sugar. So we need to make sure that we're representing things correctly and using the right words. So he reports a lack of appetite, non-compliant with his recommended low sugar diet. Here you're using formal professional language. So key points for genre and style: keep your writing clinical and factual. So do not include phrases of opinion such as unfortunately, sadly, or regrettably. Don't use note form or symbols and abbreviations like these, ×2, right? Twice a week. Don't write the symbol for and, write the word and. And similarly for left and right, write the word in full. Refer to the patient using their name, not this patient or the patient. Do not use phrases such as suffer from or complain of. OET don't like you to use it. They have negative connotations. Okay, so you could use, has or is experiencing, things like that. And use polite request phrases. So it would be appreciated if you could monitor his progress. Not you must. It's too direct. Organization and layout, very important too. Write clear paragraphs, use the correct letter layout, and make sure that information is easy to find and that it's logically grouped together. So, another poll for you. Have a quick read through these 2 paragraphs, and then I'm going to launch the poll. Which paragraph do you think is organized better? Okay, so is it paragraph 1 or paragraph 2? So have a quick read and then vote. And we'll be posting this webinar on our YouTube channel after the session. So the recording will be available, yes. So which paragraph is organized better? So have a quick skim read. Okay, if you could vote on the poll. 50-50 at the moment. Interesting. Okay, just another few moments. Okay, so let's have a little look. So about half and half. Okay, half of you think paragraph 1, half of you think paragraph 2. Well, I can reveal that the paragraphs that are organized better is number 2, and I'll explain why. In the first one, it jumps about. Yeah, so you talk about wounds, then you go to his mobilization, then back to staples, and then, embolic stockings and back to ADLs. Then you've got physiotherapist, then back to wound, then back to embolic stockings, then back to physiotherapist. So, and then paracetamol stuck here. So it jumps about too much. Okay. It's okay in parts in that I can see the person was trying to do it chronologically, but the second extract is much better because you've got everything regarding his wound and pain management and things like that. That's all there. And then you've got a paragraph specific to his mobility, ADLs, and physiotherapy. So it's been organized thematically and it's much clearer. The information is easy to find, whereas the other one sort of jumps around a little bit. So really think about how you're presenting the information. Okay. Key points for organization and layout. Leave a line between the paragraphs so you can show where the paragraph ends and the next one begins. Make sure the ideas are logically grouped together and also within each paragraph. Yeah. And make sure that key information is not hidden within lots and lots of detail. And this is quite important. Many people say, oh, how should I organize a letter? Is there a template I could use? And the simple answer is no. Do not use a template or the same organization for every letter because you can't possibly know that it's going to work. You need to approach each set of case notes individually and assess how to organize it depending on the information you're going to include. So the final part is language. So we need to make sure that we're using correct spelling, correct use of commas, using appropriate grammar for the context, and make sure that it's accurate. So, quick activity for you. Here are 5 sentences. In the chat box, I would like you to just type which sentences have errors. So some of them are right and some of them are wrong. Which sentences contain a grammatical error? So if you could pop in the chat box now, which ones have a grammatical error? Which sentences? Mm-hmm. There's more than one. Mm-hmm. Okay. Uh-huh. Great. Yeah, lots of you identifying number 1. Yep. Okay, let's take a quick look. So I can reveal that sentences 1, 3, and 4 have errors in them. Number 2 is fine. And number 5 is fine. So looking at the error, so he has admitted to the hospital. This is an error, a common error I see, where people accidentally write has instead of was for the passive. So he was admitted to the hospital on the 5th of February. For number 3, he has been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Well, because we know exactly when it happened and it's finished, we need to use the past simple, not present perfect. So he was diagnosed with. And here's also a common mistake. He is ready to be, and it's a passive form. So we need the past participle. Yeah, he was ready to be discharged. Okay. So key points for language: leave time to check your letter for errors. Keep an error list so you don't repeat the same error again and again. Read through your letter to make sure it makes sense. And don't have overly long and complicated sentences. Yeah. Keep it clear, keep it simple, keep it accurate. So just to summarize, purpose is about making it clear why you're writing. Content, include all information and accurately. Conciseness and clarity, avoid irrelevant information. Genre and style is use an appropriate style, factual and professional. Organization and layout, so grouping information together logically. And language, range and accuracy of language appropriate to the situation. So for further practice, do keep a notebook updated with a language bank of ways to express, for example, these things: medical conditions, treatment, test results, social background, and requests for further action. And as I said before, create an error list. Review it regularly so you don't repeat any mistakes. So, any questions? If you could write your questions in the Q&A box rather than the chat. We have just a minute to go through a few. Okay. So we've got an interesting question here. Is the word count very important for scoring high in OET? It's important in that I don't think you need to count every single word, but what you need to do is have an idea of what 180, 200 words looks like in your handwriting. If you write, I don't know, 175 or 210 words, that's okay. Where it becomes a problem is, say, for example, I've had students who've written 250, 300 words and more, and that means they've included too much information that's not relevant. And so that would reduce your score for conciseness and clarity. Or if you've only written 120, 150 words, perhaps you've left out some key information and you would get a lower score for content. So that's what's important rather than the actual counting of words. Okay. So if anybody else has some questions in the Q&A box. I have another interesting question here. Is bad handwriting a markdown in OET? Handwriting is important. Yes, absolutely. Because the reader needs to be able to read, yeah, what you're saying. And if you've crossed out too much and we can't understand what you're writing, then it's really hard for the examiner to assess the language and the content selection. So do make sure you're writing clearly. Okay. Any other questions? Got time for one more? Okay. Can we write, she has been recuperating from hip replacement surgery. Instead, she has been recovering from hip replacement surgery. Yes, we can use recuperate or recover. That's fine. They're both fine. And I have one more question. Do you have courses for midwives? If you're talking about OET, at the moment, what midwives take, so my students who are midwives, you take the OET nursing exam. Okay. So in the chat box, there are some links that have been posted. Don't forget to follow us on social media. The session for Bethan's next live session on Thursday is on the screen, and I think you can sign up via our website and we'll post the link. So yeah, got any questions, check out our website. You can register. Yeah, here it is in the chat box. Now you can register for the next live lesson following the link in the chat. Yeah, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, all our social media. And if you're preparing for your OET exam, we've got lots of different combinations of courses that can help you pass the exam. Okay, so we've got things like our OET, Reach OETB Nursing and Medicine Self-Study course. You can buy that on its own or in combination with our Writing Correction Service or practice test. We also have one-to-one and group tuition. So do be sure to check out our website. Anyway, thank you very much for your attention. It's been great to see so many people from all over the world. And Bethan will see you on Thursday for the next session. Have a good afternoon or evening, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you.